Good morning. I am Tony Fuhrmann, and on behalf of the Apprenticeship Illinois Committee of the Illinois Workforce Innovation Board, I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar, Apprenticeship Business Champions, Building In-House Talent. On the screen, you can see a couple housekeeping items before we get started today. All attendees are muted. You'll have the ability to mute or unmute yourselves. We ask that you remain muted unless you are speaking to reduce background noise. We invite you to post your questions in the chat and they will be addressed during the Q&A. Webinar will be recorded and posted on the NAW2021 webpage listed there. The session is using closed captioning. Again, the webinar is recorded, will be recorded and available. Let's start. So this is one of 5 hosted by the Apprenticeship Illinois Committee as part of the National Apprenticeship Week in Illinois. National Apprenticeship Week is a nationwide celebration that brings together business leaders, career seekers, labor, educational institutions, and other critical partners to demonstrate their support for apprenticeships. This week, there are over 40 in-person and virtual events happening statewide, plus several national viral events. Check the Apprenticeship Illinois website for more details. The website is going in the chat now. So the Apprenticeship Illinois Committee has focused on 4 strategies: expanding apprenticeships geographically into new industries, increasing diversity, equity, and inclusion in apprenticeships, formalizing statewide apprenticeship coordination across partnering state agencies, growing statewide capacity to provide apprenticeship opportunities to job seekers and businesses. I've been a member of the IWIB Apprenticeship Illinois Committee and chair of its marketing work group for the past 3 years. I'm director of the Madison County Employment and Training Department, which is the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act administrator for 4 counties in southwestern Illinois, those being Madison, Bond, Jersey, and Calhoun. Also, I'm the incoming president of the Illinois Workforce Partnership, which is the association of the 22 local workforce areas in the state of Illinois. We proudly hosted an in-person apprenticeship roundtable yesterday, celebrating the 85 apprentices and 14 businesses in our area. Not only has our region launched America's first food truck apprenticeship program, but 3 new registered apprenticeships were announced yesterday with Collinsville High School in the city of Collinsville for special education students. I have a little bit of different background than a lot of people in this area, as I worked in government for a number of years and then spent 10 years in the private sector with Anheuser-Busch in St. Louis, and have returned to the government sector here later in my career. So we welcome you, and we are thrilled to have an esteemed panel this morning, and I'm going to introduce each one of them now, and we'll get started with today's discussion. First is Karen Kryder. She is with the Innovative Learning Team, or she is the Innovative Learning Team Leader at FHN, a healthcare network in North Central Illinois and in Wisconsin. Karen has worked with the Workforce Connection, a local workforce area in Rockford, to launch medical assistant apprenticeships over the past year. One of FHN's apprentices will be sharing her story during Friday's Apprentice Spotlight webinar, which is Friday from 9 to 10 as well. Ryan Long is an IT support manager for Continental Tire, the Americas LLC in Mount Vernon, Illinois. Continental Tire has a couple different apprenticeship programs to share in both IT and manufacturing. Continental Tire has worked with Rend Lake College as an apprenticeship intermediary. Rend Lake is part of the Illinois Community College Board's CAPIT initiative, where 10 community colleges are working on IT apprenticeships. Continental also partnered with Industry Consortium for Advanced Technical Training, or ICAT. Meghan Parrilla is the VP Global Early Careers Apprenticeships at Aon Services Corporation. Aon has been a leader both in the greater Chicago area, but also in several other cities as they expand their apprenticeships in the insurance industry. And Aon, along with other Chicago-based companies, helped launch the Chicago Apprentice Network a few years back. One of Aon's apprentices will also be on the Apprenticeship Spotlight on Friday. Finally, Robert Woolum is a corporate trainer at North American Lighting in Paris, Illinois. They also have locations in Flora and Salem. Similar to Ryan, North American Lighting also has worked with Rend Lake College. North American Lighting hosts technical apprentices. So we're going to get started with our questions now. So Karen, I will start with you. I would like to let each of them, introduce themselves by answering the following question. Can you share your company's original story with apprenticeships? What was the motivation and how did you get started? Please let us know about your current program and how many apprenticeships you are working with.
Well, good morning. I'm Karen Kryder, so thank you for having me here today. Like Tony said, I work for a healthcare facility, so we're a hospital and provider and specialty offices. So when you go see the doctor, that's kind of who we are. And so we had talked about apprenticeship programs on and off for a couple of years. Towards the end of 2019, we had decided to move forward. Our local community college had also interest in moving forward with an apprenticeship program, and so we decided to develop one for the medical assistant, which turns into a certified medical assistant, a CMA. And so we thought this would be a good opportunity for us to develop a pipeline for those hard-to-fill positions. We thought it would be a unique way to recruit and retain talent at FHN. We started working with that local community college and our local workforce connection partner. And through that, we developed a registered apprenticeship. Our first group started in the fall of 2020. We had 4 participants in that group. We basically started by just going to the school of who they had in the program, offered up this opportunity to come and work in a paid apprenticeship. They were going to school 2 days a week. They could work for us 2 days a week and get paid to learn on the job. We also offered a scholarship with that, so a little incentive to help them, and it also was a retention effort in that if they took the scholarship, they had a commitment to come work with us when they were done with their schooling. So there are competencies that we had set up so that the preceptor that was training here at FHN with that apprentice could train them on the job, and they would basically be learning as they were going along with school on the job, hands-on with those individuals. This has really been a great program for us. We've had a lot of people reach out to us having interest in it. Our second group started in August of 2021, and we continue to expand and develop on that.
Thanks, Karen. So Ryan, would you like to tell us sort of the same MO here?
Absolutely. So the big driving force for us here at Continental Mount Vernon to start the apprenticeship program was the need for skilled positions, skilled workers, right? So whether we're talking on our engineering side or on our IT department, you can imagine in such a large company, we have a lot of proprietary software systems, proprietary hardware that you just don't get training in a normal environment, in a classroom environment, for example. And so to partner with Rend Lake or any other college that wants to partner with us, we get to bring these individuals in, just like Karen said, get them trained up, get them, to a place where, in 2 years, they can be a high performing member of our team. And that's the ultimate goal, right? Get that retention. So.
Thanks, Ryan. Meghan, how did you work at AON?
Yeah, great to be here and looking forward to the conversation. So at AON, our program started back in 2017, but it really began because we had been partnering with the local community college down the street from the AON Center in Chicago, Harold Washington College, which is part of the city colleges, to have interns come in. However, what we were running into is many of our business leaders would want to convert those interns into full-time hires. However, all of our entry-level roles had pretty much created this requirement that in order to enter into AON, into any of those roles, you needed a 4-year degree, which really kind of opened the conversation of the opportunity here. Additionally, our UK-based group and organization actually already had apprentices, and many of you know Europe is, I think, ahead in some of those ways in the, I'll call it non-traditional or the corporate type of roles. And so we had this really unique opportunity to kind of start that conversation of, you know, what it would take, and our business leaders looking at the roles they had and really kind of opening their aperture to saying, this role doesn't really require a four-year degree, and actually we can implement a program like we've seen in Europe and UK on apprenticeship and really kind of have an earn and learn model. At the same time, a similar kind of organization in the risk insurance industry, Zurich, was also exploring it and kind of spearheaded the way, I will say, in certifying the insurance track, which is our largest track at Aon. And so we leveraged some of that work, and also we partnered with other organizations like Accenture, and at the same time launched the Apprentice Network, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But our current program, so we've existed since 2017 in Chicago. So we're going to have our fourth cohort graduate at the end of this year. It is a true earn and learn model where it's a 2-year program. They go to school for about 12 hours a week, and they work at Aon for 28, but they're full-time employees at Aon from day one. When they end their apprenticeship, pending they successfully complete their associate's degree and are meeting expectations, they're promoted out of their apprentice role and into a business unit role, usually at a comparable level and pay as our 4-year college hires. So in the last 4 years, our classes have been about 25 in the Chicagoland area. In 2021, we as Aon have made an investment in expanding apprenticeship across the nation, and expanded actually to 6 additional cities. And we just brought in our largest cohort in 2021 of over 100 apprentices nationally. But I will say the Chicagoland apprenticeship class, which is Chicago and Lincolnshire, our 2 locations, is the largest class with 40 apprentices. And we partner both still with Harold Washington Community College and College of Lake County.
Thank you, Megan. Robert?
Yes, Tony, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. North American Lighting, we actually started our apprenticeship program back in 2016. And much like Ryan said, it was due to that technical skill set. It was very hard to fill those types of positions. North American Lighting, especially down in Florida and Salem, Illinois, have been around for quite some time. And that being said, our technical roles, those individuals are getting closer and closer to retirement, and we have to make sure we're ready to fill those positions going forward. So we actually started in 2016 with 4 apprentices, 2 in Florida and 2 in Salem. And so we actually kicked off with ICAT. Ryan's familiar with ICAT. You mentioned ICAT earlier, but we did kick off with ICAT in 2016 and had pretty good luck with it. 2017, we were still kind of dipping our toes in the water. I mean, we liked what we saw, but we didn't want to really grow too much more yet. So we kind of held off in 2017. But by the time summer of 2018 rolled around and fall semester coming up on us, we decided, you know what, this is really happening. We were seeing tremendous opportunity with the program. So it really took off in 2018. We actually added more apprentices to both Florida and Salem. We added apprentices or started our program in Paris, Illinois, as well as down in our Muscle Shoals, Alabama facility. So we took it off down there as well. And then we have a tooling facility in Indiana that we also kicked off an apprenticeship pathway there, more for machining and tool and die. And then in 2020, we added a pathway at our Salem facility, actually 2 pathways. We had a tool and die room there that had the need for an apprentice. So we started one there, and then created a pathway for the building and maintenance and electrician position as well. So that was new to us in 2020. We didn't really add any technical apprentices to our facilities in 2020 due to the impact that COVID had on our economy. But this past summer, 2021, we expanded even more. Well, we probably almost doubled in size as far as our apprenticeship program, and actually created another pathway for our equipment facility, which is right there in Florida as well, as PLC programming. So we kicked that off as well. So huge growth. We're seeing the return on investment. We graduated our first cohort in 2019. We graduated another cohort in 2020 and just graduated one in 2021 as well. So we're seeing it happen. It's working for us and we're loving it.
So a couple follow-ups for you, Robert. Number one,
Yes.
North American Lighting. So what do you manufacture? I don't think everybody's aware of exactly what you guys make. So
Yeah, we are the largest automotive lighting manufacturer in North America. So we do both forward lighting and rear lighting. We have almost 6,000 strong across the country, Illinois, Indiana, Alabama. We also have a research and development up in Michigan, and also in technology center out in California. So huge growth, a lot of things happening. But yes, forward lighting and rear lighting for automotive.
So, and one other follow-up question. I know your company has taken advantage of the state tax credit for apprentices. Can you talk a little bit about that process and how it has benefited North American Lighting?
Yes, we took advantage of that for the first time this past year. Actually, Sharon Polk just reached out to me. She's been amazing to work with as far as getting that paperwork turned in. But she just reached out in the last few days to make sure we're getting this year's paperwork turned in for it. So working on that as well. Process is very simple, much simpler than I expected it to be. I mean, when we're talking taxes, paperwork, this and that, kind of daunting sometimes, but not a difficult process at all. Sharon walked us right through it. You're able to count the tuition paid towards the students for that tax credit, and it's really helped us to continue to grow this program even more with getting that money back in our pocket.
I will say that is a benefit that has not been taken advantage of at great lengths by businesses. If you are a business in an apprenticeship program, you may want to investigate the tax credits that the state are offering as you hire apprentices. So thank you, Robert. Let's move on to question number 2. Ryan, we'll start with you this time. Nationally, apprenticeship has a return on investment of roughly $1.50 for every dollar invested. Can you tell us what has been the primary benefits of apprenticeship to your company? How you would characterize the return on investment you've seen?
The most interesting thing for us, so unfortunately, I can't answer this very clearly because we just started ICAT earlier this year, and our IT apprenticeship will begin in January. So we're really still fresh to this concept. Now, we've been doing internships for some time, but the idea of an apprenticeship is unique to us. But early on, the benefits that I've seen, especially from our upper management, is how we have rallied behind this concept. You know, the skilled workers, as I mentioned before, they're very difficult to attain. And for us to invest in these individuals, we're setting up an entire classroom just next door, basically, kind of classroom layout for our ICAT apprentices, so they can, we can on site really train them on the equipment that we need them to be trained on. And then they can take that back to the classroom, and vice versa, lessons they learn in the classroom. We're willing to spend money and invest in these individuals. We want them to be long-term members with Continental, whether it's here in Mount Vernon or maybe they go take those skills overseas or wherever that might be. And so that's been for me, the most rewarding thing is just to see how quickly the idea and the benefits, the long-term benefits seen for these apprenticeships is taken on.
Thank you, Ryan. Meghan, how about it, Aon?
Yeah, and I would agree with Ryan. I think there are so many benefits. I don't think there's just one in that, but a couple of things. So first off, I would say, apprentices bring a perspective and experience to Aon that we otherwise really would have missed out on had we not opened our aperture and saying, we need to relook at roles and what really requires a 4-year degree versus not, and what can be trained. I think also, as we think about the last 18 months and the world we are all living in with such rapid change and increased volatility, the job market and all of that, continuing to build resilient workforces is the key to the future. And especially even and then if we look at even our state in Illinois, I think nationally and all that, that's the key, primary benefit is we're, supporting our local communities and talent, and really, supporting them in skill development and careers, right? On the numbers and such, since we have been in a little bit since 2017, I can say a couple of things. So Of our apprentices that go through the program and successfully convert, we see about 82% of them do that, which if you look at certain data sets of interns coming in and converting an intern into a full-time hire, that is actually higher than you see from NACE, which is an organization that kind of tracks conversions of interns and such in companies across the United States. On retention, so those who graduated are at Aon working. We see about a retention rate as of right now about 80%. However, I always kind of put an asterisk on that because I said in year one we were learning and things like that. Our second cohort of apprentices, 95% of them are still at Aon today. So there's this aspect of retention that we see too within apprentices that is higher than some of our college hiring in other areas. So there's a huge cost of recruitment, as many people know. And so that retention element is key for our organization. And then I think, kind of what Ryan said too on the cultural piece. So I've seen a huge impact that the program has had across our entire enterprise, from managers of apprentices, from leaders, from apprentices themselves. And really, it's a win-win for all who are involved in the program, whether they are the apprentice or the leader. There's just some amazing kind of cultural element to it that comes in, and what we're able to do and provide, and also apprentices back to us. Diverse perspectives are the best parts of teams. Teams are more successful when they have diverse perspectives. It's shown in data, so this is a key enabler to that too.
Thank you, Megan. Robert, how about in North American Lighting?
Yeah, like Megan said, there's many benefits, and I'll target just a couple of them here. But I think one of our biggest benefits is the learning aspect of it, as far as the hybrid model, going to class and coming in to work for the on-the-job training piece. And those do work hand in hand. I know Ryan mentioned earlier, they learn in the classroom and bring it to the shop floor. They learn in the shop floor and take it back to the classroom. And that's really how retaining that information, and it happens more and more because they're utilizing it so quickly after learning it. So if they're programming a PLC in class yesterday, then when they come in, we know that we kind of sequence those courses, and we can put them on a machine messing with the PLC today on the shop floor. So the retention's huge there by being able to utilize that information relatively quickly. Results from our program have been amazing. The students are a huge asset to our talent pipeline and have proven to us that the programs really do work. And that really wouldn't be possible without our educational partners. So a quick shout out to Ren Lake College. They've been huge with helping us to grow these programs. We also work with Lakeland College, Olney Central College, and even over in Kaskaskia. So when we continue to grow, we continue to bring on more educational partners, and yeah, we're enjoying it.
And Karen, how about in the healthcare industry?
Yeah, so I echo a lot of what everybody has shared already. The hands-on learning for our participants, some of them have talked about they've started other programs and they didn't finish because they felt like it didn't make sense and it was hard for them to learn. And so coming into this, getting to learn hands-on, and like you said, Robert, getting to learn in the classroom and learn on the job has just made so much more sense. For us, it feels like a unique opportunity that others don't offer. It's something that's new, and so when we can offer this in other areas and other healthcare organizations aren't offering it yet, it's been a really unique opportunity for us in recruiting. And we're also getting to recruit people months sooner than we normally would, right? Like we wait until they're done with the program, and that's when we start recruiting. Instead, now we're trying to catch them on the front end, potentially before they're even decided that they want to go into this program. And I have people that are like seeking it out now. Before, we had a struggle in our community college, we've talked about this, is that people didn't seek out this profession. They didn't know what it was. They didn't want to go into it. And now I have people coming to ask me about it. They're hearing about how it works. They're hearing about, I get to work and learn on the job and go to school a couple of days of the week. And when I get done, I get promoted into this new role and a pay increase. And so it's really attracting people to a profession that they weren't thinking about previously, which is really exciting for us. And by the end of the program, there's really no onboarding needed, right? They're already trained. We don't have to get them through school and then take them through, their onboarding into this position. So they're really coming out of the program ready to work, which is really exciting. And again, why we want to continue to expand with further partnerships.
I'm going to go off script here real quick on something Karen mentioned for any of the other three of you to like to chime in. The importance of the earn and learn model for the participants, especially in this day and age where there's lots of options. I mean, is that a big selling point for the apprenticeship program in each of your companies? Ryan?
Absolutely. It's a unique opportunity. And I look back on my own experience. So I'm prior military, and I got that opportunity through the military to earn and learn, right? I served while also taking online courses and getting my degree. And, let's face it, the military is not for everybody, right? This helps enable, the upcoming workforce to do very similar and get that benefit.
Yesterday at our event, we had someone who was former military make the statement that the military is the biggest apprenticeship program in the country, that you go in with no skills and they teach you while you're also earning. So Meghan, how about today on is that a benefit to the individuals coming in? Is that a selling point for apprenticeships for the young people you're working with?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think many, as we hear them, the apprentices speak at different events and about their experience, a lot of them come back to that kind of comment of why and how they got involved, and they were almost in shock that they would be paid while they learn and build skills and progress at that. So it definitely is, because that's not always opportunity. I think also the balance, right? Many of them might be trying to go to school and work a 40-hour-a-week job, and that's really hard. Oh, and have life and sustain families and things like that. This allows them that balance, and also their managers know it, right? So if they need to take time off to do some studying or things like that, it's not a shock because it's part of a whole program in that, versus trying to explain to your manager, that you're taking classes at night and working and needing time. This is all supported. So it's for sure a win-win.
So Robert, that's the city perspective. How about the more rural perspective? I mean, individuals out in the country, for lack of a better term, are they seeing the same benefits?
Yes, absolutely. The earn and learn is a big selling point. To be able to go out to the high schools and talk to the juniors and seniors and say, look, you guys have the opportunity to not move as far away as you possibly can from your hometown and make a great living right here in Paris, in Florida, in Salem. And do it debt free. I mean, you can possibly graduate with your associate's degree without any debt whatsoever and be into a very, very good paying job where you can raise your family right here in your hometown, in your backyard. But that's a huge selling point. Quick story. We had, I'm not going to name drop here, but back in 2019, I had a phone call. We were recruiting that summer. I had a phone call coming in from California. And the young man answers. I answer the phone, and it's a young man asking about the apprenticeship program. It turns out he grew up in the Salem area, and he had gotten a friend of his had gotten a hold of him and said, "Hey, I saw a flyer on the bulletin board at the bank of all places." So we reach out far and wide for recruiting, right? But there's an apprenticeship opportunity in Paris I think you might be interested in. So he calls me up, and he's like, my first question, Robert, he goes, are you looking for just high school kids? He goes, are you looking for graduates just to graduate this year? And I'm like, honestly, no. I mean, that's not, yeah, we talk to the high schools a lot, but that's not where we stop at. And he goes, all right. He goes, I'm 30. He goes, is that going to be a problem? And I said, no, not at all. Go through the process, interview, and we'll see what happens. And he actually was selected for the program. He moved back home to Illinois. And he just recently graduated, so he's doing well. But that same token, he thought he wanted to move as far away as possible, and he was out in California, and all said and done, he is back home in Illinois going through the apprenticeship program.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Meghan. We'll move on to the next question. We'll go back to the script and move on from here. So on the Apprenticeship Illinois Committee, we often say there is no apprenticeships without businesses. I will tell you on a personal note, when I took over as the marketing work group chair, that was my first emphasis was marketing to the businesses, because If you don't have businesses, you don't have apprenticeship programs. At the state system, we're not always good at speaking employers' language or providing a clear path for employers. If you were speaking to yourself when you started working on an apprenticeship, what would you tell yourself now? In other words, can you share with other employers challenges you faced or you're still facing, and what ideas you would like to share to make the process of registering apprenticeships easier for employers?
Yeah, and so, well, the thing that's interesting and what was brought up earlier is when we started at Aon, the Chicago Apprentice Network didn't exist, right? And so working with Zurich and Accenture, we launched that at the same time as we went into launching our program. So at that time, we were kind of learning, leveraging each other, leveraging, DOL and leveraging other intermediaries to help us kind of stand up and do all of that. So where we're at today is that actually employers don't have to do that or experience that or do it alone. We have great resources. The Apprentice Network has a webpage and has sites, and I know it was shared here, and even a very robust kind of guide to how to do that. And so, basically you don't have to go at it alone. And this is kind of, apprenticeship it's a unique place where all of us, and us on this call and many more, are willing to share everything we have and all that we have learned to continue to drive and grow apprenticeships, because there is, a plethora of talent out there to join apprenticeships that there's actually not the competition we see in some other places. And so, I would say, talking to you all now, and if you're on here thinking about doing it, one is just do it. And two, you can get a lot of resources from so many places, the Apprentice Network, both, and then also this Apprenticeship Illinois. And that, just to kind of state it, in the Chicago Apprentice Network, we've grown from 3 employers. We now have over 50 in the network, and we've employed, since its inception, over 1,100 apprentices have gone through those organizations. So, you don't have to think of rebuilding this all by yourself. I think the second thing I would say that we are continuing to, as you grow, so if you're in the space of you have a small program and you're looking to grow, one thing we're continuing to ideate on is kind of better and more robust tracking mechanisms, outside of just the DOL tools that we can leverage to kind of get a good sense check of where our apprentices are in the program, supporting them in celebrating wins where they're doing amazing things and succeeding. And then if there's ones that get slightly off track, how we can help support them to get back on track and be successful in our program.
So any speed bumps? I mean, don't want to sugarcoat this, that everything's wonderful. You start and there's no roadblocks or anything. So, I mean, anything that you see, I think after probably 3 or 4 years, you've worked through most of those, but at the beginning, other than sort of going it alone, I mean, were there issues from the government side, or was that pretty smooth?
I mean, I think from the government side, it's been fine because we've worked well and gotten, the support, and ours is nationally certified. We aren't states in different states. I know in Illinois, we're kind of that broader state side. And working through it. I will say, I think, I'm very excited for the investment being made at the national level on modernizing apprenticeships, right, in the United States, and, how, especially large corporations like ours, where many of our data is electronic, how we can continue to help support being more automated in that sense. So that's where I was getting at with the tracking tools that we're implementing that kind of have a similar ability as like the rapid system for the DOL and all that. So we don't have to have people having hand keys to enter all that information. It can easily be automated in. When you're small, you only have 4 to 10. It's easy to have a person do that because it doesn't take a lot of their time as they progress. But as we grow and now we have 100, we're probably going to have over probably 125 every year. We can't have it just be someone's job in doing that. So I would say the bumps are probably in, continuing to get better automation and better, connections on some of those back end tools and such, and that type of stuff. Because we don't at Aon, I'm sitting home at my home office. We don't have a file room of files. A lot of our stuff is electronic. So I think continuing to evolve that was the piece. And then I think the other thing is that I would say, and when looking at it, is managers are really important. So the selection of managers, I would say that would be the other, Tony, bump or things to think about, that, some managers may not have the time to, be highly hands-on and involved in mentoring like they expect in an apprenticeship program. So I think that education and understanding and really what is the ideal profile of an apprentice manager. I sometimes say any kind of early careers colleague or new joiner to the corporate world, that manager is super important because, people leave managers, not companies many times. So that second thing I would say is we probably had some managers that we decided to quickly say we probably need a new manager here because what's happening is not on the apprentice, it's on the manager. And that's really another key bump that I would say, manager selection. And that is really, really important in their kind of expectations of them as a manager, making sure they understand it too.
Thanks, Megan. Robert, how about North American Lighting?
Yes, if I were to rewind back to 2016, I would probably tell myself to stick with it. That it's going to prove itself out. Not necessarily a mistake, but by not adding apprentices in 2017, a year later, we kind of not realizing it created a gap in our pipeline. So as we're getting further down the line, all of a sudden we're not going to have any graduates in this next year because we didn't add anybody in 2017, right? So that was kind of a downside. So I would tell myself to kind of go with it, let things run its course, and grow a little bit quicker than what we did. And we figured out in the long run, we're there now. But again, we took that break in 2017, kind of testing the waters out and see what happens. And another reason that closing those gaps are so important is because the apprentices are learning in school, the apprentices are learning on the shop floor, but the apprentices also learn from each other. So you have the second year and the third year apprentices that are role models and help those new first year apprentices. And when you have that gap in your pipeline like that, and you've skipped a year, and maybe you don't have any second year this year, you don't have any third year this year, that does play a factor in your group. They do help each other out. I mean, they help each other out in class, they help each other out on the floor. So they are really a team, becoming a bigger part of our team, right? As far as the Department of Labor paperwork, Megan already touched on that. As an employer, I haven't had to do a whole lot with that, honestly. We kicked off with ICAT to start with, and they were incredible and great as far as making sure that piece of it was taken care of. And then now working with Rend Lake College with their expansion grant and things of that nature. Joy Fits has been wonderful as far as helping us get paperwork filled out and taken care of. So that's kind of a lot of behind the scenes stuff it's really being done for us. So that's helped out tremendously.
Thank you, Robert. Karen, how about at FHN?
Yeah, gosh, I feel like I echo a lot of what you guys are saying, but, I think just at the beginning, knowing it's worth it, there's a lot of effort that goes into trying to get that buy-in. Our executives were in support of the program, but our frontline leaders took some convincing. They felt like, well, we need people today. We need them right now. Why would we develop something where we have them in months? And it's like we've always had an opportunity here. If we develop them and create that pipeline, we will continue to have people come out of that program. And so just seeing that frontline leader buy-in was a challenge. Now they see it, right? Like now that it's set up and we have people going through the program and coming out of it, they see where that benefit is. As far as the setup of the program, each group, so we've started with the local community college, and the paperwork there, it was okay. We had a lot to go through, especially going that first time through it. The next group we're partnering with is called MedCerts, and they have set up other healthcare apprenticeship programs, and they have done it for us. They've done a lot of the legwork. We just have to kind of give them some general information about the program, how we want it set up, and they're doing a lot of the paperwork, which is really nice and taking a lot of that off of us. So they have been a really good partner for us in starting to develop apprenticeship programs in phlebotomy tech and pharmacy tech, which is exciting. Another thing we found is we had put together an advisory board. It had been suggested to us to create this for us to get together the leaders of individuals that have apprenticeship staff members, but also our local community college, so that we could talk through things and how are things going and what can we adjust and make better, which has been really beneficial. But we also found that we didn't feel like we could openly talk because we didn't know if there was a line we were crossing, right? Like, can we share with them all the things we're experiencing, and could they share that with us? And so we now have a document in place that our participants sign, basically saying we can talk openly, we can share grades, we can share all the information that we need, because we kept finding that that was a roadblock for us. And we actually had a participant that I feel like we could have maybe served her a little better if we would have been talking openly, understanding where she was in the program and how things were going. So I think that has been really helpful. We also have a team member here that does meet with all of our apprenticeship participants once a month to see how things are going. They can kind of, like you said, talk to each other, gauge how they're doing in the program, and learn from each other and how they're progressing through the program. So that has been helpful, and things that we've developed as we've gone along here. We are adding that MedCerts partnership also, so that we have more start time flexibility. With our community college, they're like a local community college, traditionally starting, one time a year or 2 times a year, but we wanted that ability to really start whenever we needed to or wanted to, and so we're developing that so that people can start any time of year, which will be really helpful for the participants.
Thank you, Karen. Ryan, how about at Continental Tire?
Sure. First off, it's hard to go last at this group. This is a good group right here. I'll also provide a little different perspective. As I mentioned earlier, we're very new in our own apprenticeship program. So frankly, just attending this meeting itself and listening to Meghan, Karen, and Robert tell their stuff, there's things I haven't thought about that they're educating me on just just from this. So I appreciate that. Early on for us, I can't speak to most of it as my business partner, my HR business partner did a lot of the paperwork aspect of it. And again, Joy Fitz from Rend Lake College, I think she has it, just in a playbook. She just flips through it and gets it done. So I didn't get to see a lot of that stuff that went on in the background, but I know there was some challenges, and ultimately, the hardest part for myself was, sitting down with my upper management and saying, hey, this is why we need to do this apprenticeship. Here's the benefits of it. More or less selling it. And halfway through the meeting, looking at their faces, I realized, oh, I don't actually have to sell this. This sells itself. So for any company that is, mid-level, low-level manager, or, that's looking at looking at this apprenticeship program and considering it, and has that, that kind of fear, if you will, of how my boss is going to tell me, no, they're not going to want to hire, new people for this or whatever. It's worth taking that first step. As with many things, that first step and getting that process rolling is the hardest part, right? Everything else will fall in line. There's resources for it. Yeah, it may take time and be a struggle, but it's worth it. So, key things to highlight from others, like Meghan was talking about with the mentoring, having the right leadership to do these positions is mentor the apprentices. That's so crucial to the success of the program.
Thank you. Robert, we're going to start with you this time. Right now, 92% of apprenticeships are in the construction and building trades in Illinois, but apprenticeships are growing rapidly in new industry sectors. Are there any myths about apprenticeship you would like to dispel for other employers listening today, especially since none of your companies focus on construction and building trades and are considered non-traditional apprenticeship programs?
Yes, I think it was mentioned earlier about a lot of managers are like right here, right now. We need people right now, okay? And with an apprenticeship, you kind of have to sit back and understand how the process works. No, you're not going to have a 100% ready to go employee right off the bat, but you might have a 25% ready to go, and then before long they're 50% ready to go, and then they're hitting 75, and you're growing that team member into exactly what you want to grow that team member into. And that's a huge benefit from an apprenticeship standpoint. I don't want to take them from everybody else, but another one, everybody worries about the cost of an apprenticeship program. How expensive is this going to be? And NAL early on, I think we were kind of early getting on the boat in Illinois back in 2016. Since then, it's grown across the state tremendously. It's a huge, huge deal. There is so much opportunity out there to help offset the cost of these programs. I'm sure some of that will be talked about, but the recent Illinois expansion grant that has come out has been big to help us grow the program, to help us add more apprentices a little bit quicker than we might have prior to. And also, the more we can grow this program and the more local manufacturers, statewide manufacturers get on board, it makes it much easier for everybody else, because now the colleges can fill their classes. They can add an additional class or two to their schedule. They can accommodate maybe needing a night class. That all comes along with it. It's hard to justify putting in an instructor on an 8 p.m. class for 3 students, right? But if we can grow this and grow this together locally and at the state level, then that opens up numerous opportunity to be able to grow even more.
Karen, how about in your situation?
Yeah. So I would, again, echo a lot of what has been shared today. This is really a unique opportunity, and I think when we were first going into this, and even today when I'm explaining this to new leaders or other areas that we might want to do this with, the concern is the lack of understanding. Do I have to hire this person? What if I don't like them? You still interview. They still have the same expectations, right? And so I think part of it is just that it's new. Like, most of us in healthcare have not done anything like this. And so, but it can work, and it's very effective. And I only see this growing in healthcare in the years to come as people see how this can work and really benefit them. I only see this growing, and it has really helped us with that pipeline of talent. And it doesn't have to be perfect when you set it up. I think when we first were getting started, it felt like we had to have this perfect, presentation of how this was going to work and how it's going to be set up. And it doesn't have to be, right? Like, we can learn as we go, and we're very open with our participants. I remember that first group were like, this is our first time. Tell us all the feedback. We want to know all of the things so we know how to make this better. And that's really, it's okay, and it makes sense, and it will work out, and it has been a huge benefit for us.
Thanks. Ryan, how about with you?
I can't think of anything to add, to be honest. I mean, so I will say this. I'm relatively new at Continental. I've only been here a year. I moved here from another large company, ExxonMobil. You may have heard of it. In any case, until coming here in my leadership history, the apprenticeship thing never came up. It was never a topic, and I'm glad to see that Illinois is really pushing for this in general. I mean, I just can't speak enough of the benefits, and I'm surprised this is not a larger thing nationwide.
Megan?
Yeah, I think I have 2, actually. One off of what Robert said earlier with the story of the guy from California. One is about age. So many people think it's like, oh, it's a high school graduate. That is not actually true. I would say the average age is probably around 29, what we see, but we have apprentices at Aon that range from 18 to 60. So there's a wide range of talent out there that have the opportunity to come in. So don't think of it as like it's a high school student. There are some that are 18 and want to do that, but that isn't actually the majority as we look at it, which leads me into my second part, which is, I sit in an insurance risk organization, and many people, think this is risky, kind of what Robert said too, of like, they're not going to come in at 100%, so this is really risky. And they're comparing it a lot of times to those, hires you'd have that have gone through a training or have 4 degrees or whatever way it was to come to your organization, and the requirement you've put in for entry into those roles. However, I think it's just not, right? You have the ability as the employer and that to actually now look at this role coming in and make sure that the training and the skilling they're getting is what you need for them to be successful in the job. Because let's take it, people coming from other training providers, four-year universities, you're still going to have to train them in your organization, in systems, and whatever it may be, that they're not learning in those places. So there's always going to be that training element of it. And sometimes they have gotten training in things that actually they don't ever even use. And so this is really an ability to, focus in on what you as the organization needs in the talent coming in, and also enables them to have a kind of baseline to grow upon. And ideally, we look at our talent in this space as, being future leaders and having a career within Aon, not just a job, not just staying there, but continuing to grow in our organization and bring, great perspectives to it and diverse perspectives. So, I think those are the two big things I would say come out from my perspective of myths and things like that.
Great. So I do see someone asking a couple questions here. Carlos Johnson, what are the requirements to enter into the programs? Illinois resident? I mean, you guys don't limit what your participants from state, correct?
Nope.
And yes, they would take a person from DuPage or Kane County. I can answer that one for everybody. So, yeah, I mean, the programs on that we administer through the local workforce or the Workforce Investment Act or through the Department of Labor. So all those programs are national programs. I would think from state to state, you'll see apprenticeship programs and different models and all that, but it is national programs. So it doesn't matter what state.
I mean, I think Karen covered it too, Tony. Like Karen said, all of the apprentices go through an interview process, right? So, and we lay out kind of our requirements. Clearly for us, one of our key requirements is that you don't have a four-year degree, right? Inversely. And, our second thing is because we partner with the community college, they have to be deemed college ready and able to enter into our training provider. But they go through an interview process with our hiring managers and teams and such. So that's kind of those requirements, but it is pretty broad, right? And you can, for Aon, and I'm sure many of if you look on any of our websites of apprenticeship, we lay out our kind of requirements and programs and that, but it's pretty broad as long as you're able to kind of, ideally you're able to get to the college and be in a location near our offices and such, but you could transfer. We have an apprentice who moved from New York City and she decided she was moving to California and she joined our California cohort. So yeah.
So Meghan mentioned before the value of a diverse workforce and diversity in the apprenticeship program. I want to give each of the other three of you the opportunity to discuss diversity in your apprenticeship program, and you see that as something positive. So anybody can hop in here.
Absolutely. I'll jump in on that. So as an IT support manager and there's in IT in general over my career, there's a lack of diversity. Let's be honest, and several other industries as well. But man, the ability to diversify in using a program like this to help incentivize getting whether they're women or minorities or whatever that diversification factor is, it's critical, and frankly every team should be looking to diversify as much as possible. That's what makes a strong team.
That's exactly right, Ryan. Just to kind of piggyback on that, from a technical standpoint with our technician apprentices, our technicians on the floor, just due to the nature of the job, you see very few women filling those types of roles. And with the apprenticeship program, we have actually had three females that have joined the program through the apprenticeship program and work for us. And I'm telling you, they're some of our top performers. When you talk about problem solving and troubleshooting and things of that nature from a technical standpoint, not to really upset anybody, but women think a little bit differently. They when it comes to that type of thing. Usually, if they're working on an issue and they're trying to fix something, when they fix it, it's fixed, right? It's not something we're gonna have to circle back around and look at again later on. So yeah, it really opens up a lot as far as that goes.
At our event yesterday, we had an aviation company, and their apprentice they bought was their first female, and she was pretty excited because there was a second female now in the program.
That's awesome.
And yep, she was talking about how they could do things better, basically, like you just said, Robert. So, so we're going to move on. A couple announcements here. There's information on our panelists and where they can be contacted. Additional resources there that you see that are available online through the state and also through the Department of Labor. And again, we talked about the tax credit, a little bit more information. She was quick. Anyway, so that is all there. And then finally, as we continue to celebrate National Apprenticeship Week in Illinois, there are 2 more webinars scheduled between 9 and 10 the next 2 days. Tomorrow is Youth Apprenticeships, Supplying Illinois' Talent Pipeline. If you have more interest in youth apprenticeships, things that are going on in the high school that can develop talent for your organizations, please join that and register and join that. And then on Friday, if you really want to hear about the apprenticeship program from the apprentices side, the Friday event is Build Your Future Workforce, Meet Those Apprentices. So I know a couple of our participants here have apprentices participating in that event. So I'm going to open it up, see if there's any last questions from anybody in the audience. Going once, twice. If not, I would like to thank our participants again today. Thank you, Robert, Karen, Megan, and Ryan. Everything has been fantastic. We appreciate your time and your efforts in being champions to the business community for apprenticeship programs. If no one has,
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you very much for having us.
If there are no questions, I'll say thank you all and have a good day.
Take care, everybody.